Here is a scene that actually occurred 43 years ago today, August 7th, 1960, when this tugboat pushed the acid ball up the river and dropped it off right here. The acid ball, which is a 3-story tall stainless steel vessel, and it was brought in to be used as a digester. It's a low pressure acid vapors accumulator. And that's what it was used for 25 years. It was in the mid 1980s that the property was given from Boise Cascade to the city of Salem. This is the way the ball appeared when we originally found it in 1999. Although the city of Salem had done some landscaping around the perimeter, but this photograph shows the 12 support columns, the narrow support columns that were around the perimeter of the ball at the time. My friend Dale Pence came into my office in the early 1999 and asked me if I'd be interested in working on a volunteer project with him. And his idea was to get a bunch of ceramic tile, get some tile setters, and have them stick the tile on the ball. Well, I asked Dale if he had any money, and he said, well, Donna and I kicked in $1,000, Boise Cascade kicked in a couple $1,000, and we figured you and Barb would kick in $1,000, and that should be enough. The project's value ended up just under $2 million.
Where did Eco-Earth come from?
From the people. They were asked through the Statesman Journal, and also I asked dozens and dozens of them down there what they wanted that sphere to be. By and large, I would say 80% said they wanted an Earth sphere. It will be there for 100 years or more. It will be the biggest ceramic outdoor work project in the state of Oregon, probably in the Pacific Northwest, likely in the United States, and probably in the world.
It was really a pleasure to be able to have a geographer that knew his stuff, and especially once we had everything on the ball traced, and we had to go into an area, and I got lost looking at what area. A year and a half of cutting.
Mm-hmm. With sometimes 7 and 8 people down there cutting.
Yeah. Had probably a dozen people who have volunteered to do a lot of our cutting. When we started in 2000, we decided to go to all the high schools and ask them to come on board. And what we wanted to do was to have all the high schools help participate with making some of the picture icons that would go on the globe.
Got started, a friend of ours, Linda Crawford, called us. Got down here February 2001 and worked probably every Sunday for 4 to 6 hours until September about 2002.
I got involved with a ball through Dave and Dean Crowell. They called me and asked me if I'd be interested in helping out with putting the tiles on. The most memorable time was coming down here and just being with the people that were also working with you. Jewel made it a lot of fun to come down. Mary, you know, she did anything for you that you needed.
We went to local artists. One, we contacted some found out about us by word of mouth. And then they came in to look at what the high school kids had created. And then they started looking at the map and deciding what areas or what item that they wanted to contribute.
Someone called me, a fellow artist, and said, Carol, if you go down to Salem Academy School, Mary Heinzman's giving out clay and she needs help on the Eco-Earth ball. It was basically choose a country you're interested in, choose animals that you're interested in, or flowers, or historical sites, or whatever interested you. Oh, my fifth one, the lemurs in Madagascar, the bird composition in Asia or China, the Mountie in Canada, the octopus somewhere in the ocean, and this goes up in the Antarctic. The one thing I think that's going to happen with this project is I think it's going to take on a life of its own. Right now it's under wraps, it's like a secret that's happening under there. And I envision teachers doing field trips there with students and having worksheets and then literally study the country and the animals along with it. But I don't think it's just going to be a pretty sculpture sitting in a park. Every single person who sees it has a relation to that globe because it's like the big blue marble. We're all on that marble.
I also helped create the Amazon, and one of the things that I wanted to do with the Amazon was I wanted to create a piece that little kids, when they come up, when you look at it, would be able to keep looking at it and would find a lot of different hidden creatures in there, and so I wanted to kind of get that jungle effect. We distinctly asked McKay High School to do a lot of our major tropical fish for us because we had so much water. Once we started putting things on the ball, if we ran into an area where we felt that we were running short or we had little areas where the fish need to be smaller instead of being rather large, the teacher with the students, we would talk to them and they were willing to make additional fish for the globe.
I could have easily quit, but we decided to hang in there and get it done. Jewel and Mary both were really great to work with, so that made it a lot easier. I probably put up 20,000 of them, maybe 50 or 60 icons, and grouted quite a bit too, so we all did our share. I feel a lot of pride. It's been a good experience.
How you doing, kid?
For Mary.
Welcome to my world. Won't you come on in? So these are the first group right here?
Is this it?
Yeah.
You guys ready to head up to, we're going all the way to the North Pole.
Oh.
My oldest son never rides.
Well, that one's kind of hard to explain, but it's because the Earth tilts on its axis at 23.5 degrees. So when it's tilted away from the sun and the sun's over here, it can't rise above the horizon. But once it gets back around over here, where the sun's here and now the Earth's here, it's daylight all the time. The Pacific Ocean is bigger than all the land masses combined, just this one ocean. It's just my favorite island in the whole world because it looks like a starfish, doesn't it? The island of Sulawesi. It turns in this direction, rotates towards the east, and so if you're standing in Florida, you're turning at about 800 miles an hour. So when they launch that space shuttle, it actually slingshots it out into space. It's already doing 800 when it leaves the ground into space. What does the equator mean? What's that word mean? And
Hey, a shark.
she said it equates. It makes the Earth equal. It divides it directly in half into hemispheres. I don't know if you guys have been studying plate tectonics or any of that stuff. The continents on the Earth, it's just like a big egg, and the eggshell's cracked, and all these chunks of eggshell are floating around on the Earth. And when the one here, this is the Hawaiian Islands, well, underneath the ocean there's a hot spot under there, and it's a big volcano, and it's making these islands. And when this plate moves over that hot spot, it makes an island. All right, I have a good question for you guys when you get down here. Now, you probably don't understand latitude and longitude, but that's how you find places on the world. Salem's coordinates, how you find Salem, it's 123 degrees west of the prime meridian, and it's 45 degrees north of the equator. So right here in Salem, you're at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Salem is right about right here, right above this owl's head. How you doing? Go home and study your atlases now. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Talk the teachers into re-implementing geography in the classroom.
Mary asked me about working on the project and doing the Mask for Africa. A friend of mine went online and got some pictures of masks from the Ivory Coast. And it was kind of overwhelming at first because while the picture looks simple, I had no idea how I was going to decorate it. I found that if once I rolled the slab out and I did the impression of what the mask was going to look like, and then I painted it. And so the initial firing, it had color. And then I just came back and I added a black stain, and the stain brought out a lot of the features. And it looks like somebody I used to know. I've been to Riverfront Park way before this was started, and I always wondered what that big sphere was. And then it was explained to me, and as the area is not being used as a paper mill, I think it's, it's not like they're going to throw that thing away and it'll sit in a landfill for 100 years. They're going to decorate it. And Also, most of the artists are locals, you know, born and raised in Salem, and so it seems like there's a lot of love and hometown pride going along with the project.
Mary and I met through wood carving. She approached me with the idea of doing some fish for the acid ball, and I said, yeah. I selected fish because I had just finished carving a big fish out of wood, out of western red cedar. I got stuck on fish. So far I've probably made about 50. The fish that I chose here is the California flying fish, and I did a sailfish, one called the Look Down, Atlantic sturgeon, starry flounder, and it's going to be good to see them get finished and be up there on the acid ball. It's a big project.
Mary Heinzman contacted me 4 years ago and asked me if I'd be interested in doing a mosaic mural. Being the animal lover that I am, I chose Africa as my favorite animals, and I just couldn't wait to get started on them. And I chose a mosaic pattern. This icon took roughly a couple of months to do. What I like to do is just apply a stain and then wipe off so that the stain is just recessed in the textured areas. Some animals, of course, needed some colors, but I didn't want a whole lot of bright, vibrant colors on this piece. I wanted it savanna looking.
Mary needed some more pieces for South America, and so she decided that if I did Machu Picchu and then found a relic that would be discovered at Machu Picchu, then we'd place them side by side in the kind of Peru Andes area. I like working in 3 dimensions, and I like the feel of the clay, and there's many different kinds of clay, and there's many different kinds of glazes. There's nothing like the earth ball in Oregon or anywhere that I've heard of. And I'm sort of hoping it can be a focus for maybe ecology, or if people are involved in ecology, they can meet at the earth ball and use it as kind of a starting point. Years from now, people will wonder who worked on the earth ball and who did these things, and there will be stories about it. I think it's something to be proud of, to be part of it.
Good morning. Are you as happy to be here as the Eco Earth Committee? Yeah.
At this time, I'd like to bring the committee up. You just can't say enough about this committee. The people involved have stuck it out through thick and thin. This guy's amazing. This guy's got all the answers. He never loses his cool. I'd like to introduce you to Steve Jacobson.
The people who volunteered down here spent hundreds and hundreds of hours in brutal weather and so on. And I want to thank the children of those people and the spouses of those people, the husbands, the wives, and the kids of those people who were patient and let their dads or let their moms come down here. We figure about 35,000 hours in volunteer time has gone into that project. It was full-blown commitment. It was nonstop. It was never ending. There was no complaining, no negativity. She was all there all the time. Our art director, Mary Heinzman.
I'm happy and sad. I also want to thank our geographer, and he has to come up here.
Geography rocks.
And once we were cutting the tiles and getting things organized, then we had to find some tile setters to put all this on the ball. And so there were 3 that came forward. Some of their friends joined them. But I would like to bring up Dean, Dave, and Tom. I'm not sure they knew what they were getting into. But one of the things that we did was when they first started and they were putting stuff up, you know, we'd get done and I'd turn and I said, how about next Sunday? And they said, yes. It was hot and it was cold during winter, cold. Oh, we have some good stories, some good memories.
This day I've waited for 6.5 years. The ball now belongs to you.
was done for you kids. That's a present for you. And the idea behind it is that you can come down here with your moms and dads, and you can walk around the ball and ask questions, and you can learn about the earth. And then when you finish grade school, finish middle school, finish high school, finish college, and come back with all your advanced degrees, you can bring your kids down here and teach them about the earth.
Hey look, someone unwrapped the ball.
It's about time.
It looks so different with the plastic off and the scaffolding down.
It seems smaller.
This is the view you'd get from the moon.
Oh yeah, just like those Apollo photos.
Minus the clouds.
Remember the last time you were down here?
I walked on top of the world.
You can't even see the Arctic region now. How many tiles did it take to cover the ball?
Well, you'll be happy to know I counted every one of them. And there are 86,155 tiles and 300 icons covering that stainless steel sphere.
Wow, that's a lot of ceramic squares.
The real ball was formed billions of years ago, and it took eons to form from the stardust that became rock, that became boulders, that collided and formed this planet.
How big is the Earth?
At the equator, it's 26,927 miles around.
How much of the Earth's surface is water?
About 70%, and 97% of that water is in the oceans and is too salty for drinking and growing crops.
That's a lot of water.
And 3/4 of the Earth's surface is composed of volcanic rock, and 1/3 of the Earth's surface is desert.
That doesn't leave a lot of room for people to live. How many of us are on the Earth today?
Today there are over 6,300,000,000, and by the year 2050, it's predicted that there will be close to 10 billion.
How are we going to feed all those people?
How are you going to feed all those people? That's a good question. I don't know. We're rapidly eroding our tillable land and depleting fish populations in the ocean. It's going to be a major problem.
War, starvation, and more diseases like AIDS and SARS will take care of it.
What a terrible attitude.
Take a look at the news.
What about the animals, like the panda and the Bengal tiger, and the others represented on the Earth ball?
Well, there probably won't be room for them outside of zoos by 2050.
You really think so? Let's talk about something happy that's going to happen. I don't want to hear any more of this.
We're going to put a time capsule in the ball soon.
What's going to be in it?
Oh, lots of things. Newspaper clippings and photos of the process and the people putting together the ball and a video and just lots of things.
And when are they going to open this time capsule?
In 50 years.
50 years? I'll be an old man then.
If you're still around, if anyone's alive on the Earth then.
Stop it! Just stop it! I have an idea.
Hooray, hooray! Get up on the ball, up on the North Pole, and tell everyone.
Let her talk, Zach. Let's meet once a year, every year, here at the ball until the time capsule is opened and talk about the Earth and how we can help.
I can just see you down here. You won't remember it next week, let alone next year.
Don't listen to him. That's a great idea. When shall we meet?
What about on Earth Day?
When's that?
It's held every year on April 22nd.
What if we tell everyone at school and have them come down too?
That's a great idea, McCall. Maybe we can talk to the people at the newspaper and have them invite everyone throughout the community to meet down here.
What if we told the mayor and the city council and got them involved?
I've got a better idea. Let's talk to someone at the legislature.
How about the governor?
That way, maybe in 50 years, all those bad things we talked about won't happen, huh?
Let's hope not.
Jules, will you promise to meet us down here in 50 years to talk about what we've done for the Earth?
I'll do my best.
Bye.